Okay, it's Thursday. You know what time it is? It's time to go to Old Town Mariposa. Let's bring in our guest, Bob Borchard. Bob, how's it today, sir?
It's going absolutely awesome.
And I'm sorry to reach over you, but who did you bring today with you?
Well, this is a fellow that I like to call a friend, but sometimes we argue about things. But they're small things. But this is Les Marsden. And Les is the conductor of our Mariposa Symphony Orchestra.
Wait a minute. Wait, whoa. Mariposa has a symphony orchestra?
Yes, sir. It is a world-class symphony orchestra. And we are the small, well, maybe I should let Les explain.
I'm not sure if I should butt in here or what. You guys are handling this so well.
No. Go ahead and butt in,
Yeah,
please.
sure,
Les, how are you? Thanks for
fine.
coming to the Central Valley
My
Buzz.
pleasure. My
pleasure,
it's
sir.
being back home. I was born and raised in Fresno.
And how long have you been up in Mariposa?
For about nearly 15 years now. I was born and raised here, as I said, and in 1980 left.
Where did you go to high school?
McLean, C.L.
Oh,
McLean,
no, we have a Highlander in the
class
house.
of 75, and CSU Fresno. I graduated there 3 years after graduating from McLean in 78, and put together a one-man show on the life of Harpo Marx. And some people may remember that. We had Harpo's widow come back.
And you've kept the match ever since.
No, that was Harpo. No, the important thing. Yeah, that was Groucho.
Oh.
But Harpo doesn't speak. So, of course, there's where you have to really suspect things. I think we need to have Bob playing Harpo. Wouldn't that be there we go.
So let's talk about this symphony orchestra.
Sure,
I mean, Mariposa is kind of a small town to have a symphony orchestra.
Well, my wife and I was a professional actor, and we lived in New York and London, and I became injured in 1999, and we decided at that point we could leave Manhattan, wanted to spend the rest of our lives in some place we really, really would love. Mariposa was it.
What kind of actor are you talking about? Stage
Stage,
actor,
yeah,
film actor?
primarily stage. I worked in New York and also in London on the West End, which is something that American actors do not normally get to do. I was nominated for the world's highest acting honor, the Laurence Olivier Award. And then in '99, while I was starring a show in D.C., I had an unfortunate little accident with a misset prop piece, and my left leg got immediately creamed, and that was that. And so in 1999, at the age of 42, I had to retire. And after a little bit of research, Mariposa was a place to be. And we moved there, and it is truly a wonderful, wonderful place. I mean, take it from me right there. We did our research. We knew all of the areas in the world that we could have enjoyed the rest of our lives. Mariposa came in number one. And the only thing it was missing was a symphony orchestra. Right, Bob?
Are you a musician yourself?
Yeah, well, I was actually, began piano at 4, and I had all my classical training under Guy Taylor, who was the maestro of the Fresno Phil.
Right.
He really took me under his wing. I played in the orchestra, principal trumpet, and he allowed me to compose and conduct with that group. And so when I hit college, I had to make my mind up between music and theater. And theater seemed like the far tougher business in which you're living, so that's what won.
Of course you went that way.
But then as soon as I could no longer act, it was going back to that original love of mine, which wasn't Bob.
So you go up to Mariposa and you start like feeling around. Hey, I want to start a symphony. And people, what was the reaction?
It was interesting because, well, that's the funny thing. I got a few phone numbers of retired musicians or people who play, and I began calling them, and they took it very well. They were not surprised. Yeah, it sounds like fun. When the word got out, it was like the Mariposa what? After our first concert, however, it was no longer the Mariposa. What the people were saying, we have our own symphony orchestra. And people were absolutely delighted to tell their friends about that. And as you said, Mariposa is the smallest town in all America with its own symphony orchestra.
And how many pieces does this orchestra have?
Musicians?
Yes.
We're 60. And I wish...
60?
Yeah. Wow. And I wish that I could add more. We do have other people who are interested, and the biggest problem is that we have a relatively small performing arts space. Our Feaster Auditorium at the high school is a 1936 WPA construction. And it's a wonderful building for nostalgia, but it is not so great for acoustics or comfort. And as a matter of fact, when we first played there, our very first concert, we only had 30 musicians. We could fit on the stage. By our second concert, 2 months later, we were too big. And I had to have a stage extension built for the front of the stage that adds about 8 feet and 32 of width. And even with that, we are now completely overgrown that stage. We can't fit on it anymore.
Are we talking about the same auditorium that I went to see the Storyteller Festival
Yeah,
in?
that's it.
You have a 60-person band up on that?
Orchestra,
Oh my
strings.
gosh.
Yep.
Yeah.
60
Wow.
people, and we kind of cram them in. And the worst thing about it, though, is not just the space, but the fact that the acoustics are not really terrific.
You're
Anything
blowing them out in there.
Well, no, the problem is anything behind the proscenium is completely lost. You don't, even the brass, you don't really hear them as you should. And the sound kind of goes up and does not come out into the house. But enough of me saying unkind things about our wonderful venue. You know, we're hoping down the line we can have another space built. In the meanwhile, and that is relevant to this weekend, we do play on occasion in other places. And this Saturday, April 5th, we will be performing our concert in the Feaster, but the very next day at 2 p.m. we will be performing in the Great Lounge of the Awani Hotel.
Wow.
Could we repeat that?
Okay, I'll
This is-
repeat that.
this is really a big.
It
thing.
is. The Awani just reopened, right?
If you ever, no, it's been open. for-
Yeah, they closed briefly.
They closed during.
Very, very
If
briefly.
you've ever been at the Awani, you know, it's an amazing place. And to have the orchestra there, it really, it stops your heart. It's one of those kinds of things.
Well, we played annually there for the past 5 or 6 years, or perhaps even longer. And it was funny because I was making a big booster issue for the entire county of Mariposa about the economic impact of the arts. And I put together studies that showed how this works for small rural communities. And everybody was saying, yeah, it's nice, but unwilling to do much about it. So I was pestering the Park Service in Delaware North for a long time, and they finally said, okay, you can do one concert. Period. That's it. You can do one concert. And I said, yeah, fine. And I got a call a couple of weeks before that one concert several years ago, and they said, well, you know, we said one concert, but, well, we were kind of wondering if, well, and I said, what, you would like to do more than one? And they said, well, yeah, would you like to consider it? And it was because they had booked out every single last room in the Awani that had
Nice.
been reserved, and the dining room had been booked solid from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. that day.
Wow.
And it's really funny because when we do play there, the wait staff always comes out and thanks me because apparently it's their biggest tip day of the year, too.
Great.
So it shows what the arts can do for the
Our
economy
small-
of a small
our-
place.
Well, in our small town, I think that our small town has attracted a world-class artist who has put out of the woodwork world-class artists, and we have, for a small town, the only world-class symphony orchestra, Mariposa. And that's really the story. You know, Awani makes money off of this, and I think that's wonderful. But the fact that our community has attracted somebody of less, and I don't like this guy, just so we understand, but somebody of less caliber, and he has organized and energized all these people in Mariposa. There are people who were not musicians who took up instruments just so they could be as part of this.
Well, and it's kind of fun because we have people in the orchestra who had played instruments for many, many years, for their lifetimes, but had never played in an ensemble before or in an orchestra before. And it really has been wonderful to see the growth of that ensemble playing over the past many years. And the thing that I think is also important to point out is that none of us are paid. It's an all-volunteer organization. You know, I don't get paid a penny for it, and as a matter of fact, I've thrown a small fortune into the orchestra over the years. And you know the old saying about going to a small rural area, if you plan to make a small fortune there, go there with a large fortune.
All right, well, that's awesome. I love learning new things about Mariposa. And Bob, every week when you come in, I learn something new. I meet more great people. I've fell in love with Mariposa. It's my dream one day to go move and live up in Mariposa. And when I do, heck, I might even take up an instrument myself and join the symphony.
You got it. I'll put you to work on chimes or a bell or something, or a cymbals. That'd be fun for you.
I want something a little bit more big. I want to be in the
a
front.
drum.
Start the double bass then.
The double
Yeah.
bass.
If you want something big. Well, and the fun thing also about this weekend's concerts, I generally tend to bring in guest musicians from time to time. And this weekend, we are bringing in Laura Porter, who is the principal harp player of the Fresno Philharmonic Orchestra.
Nice.
So there's a nice little connection there.
Cool.
as well.
Les, it was my pleasure to meet you. I can't wait to see your symphony.
Well, thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that.
Bob, always good to see you, my friend. Always good to see my friends out at the Bet's Going. I'll be up there soon to visit Mariposa. And until I do, Bob's going to bring Mariposa to Fresno every Thursday afternoon. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back on the Central Valley Buzz.
Are we going to be?
This segment is brought to you by Mike Briggs Properties. The recession's over. It's now safe to sell your home. Call Mike Briggs Properties. For all of your real estate needs, call Mike Briggs Properties, 559-486-6758, or check us out at MikeBriggsProperties.com. Watts Family Grill. We grill slow, a smile, secret sauce, cold beer, and old friends. Park out back. Look for us on Blackstone, south of McKinley. Watts Family Grill. If you've got something to say and you'd like a place to say it, check out CentralValleyTalk.com. We are interviewing for new talk show hosts at this time. If you'd like to advertise on CentralValleyTalk.com, go to our website and it'll tell you what to do. CentralValleyTalk.com.
Hey, my name's Christoval, the host of Sex Drugs Christoval. I've been on CentralValleyTalk.com for 8 months partying on Tuesday nights, but guess what? The party's moving nights. Now I'm on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Apparently the party was just too much on Tuesday nights. So join me on CentralValleyTalk.com, where I promise to bring you one live music act a week. Sex Drugs Christoval, Friday nights, 8 p.m. on CentralValleyTalk.com.
This just in. Tower District houses are selling for as little as $300 per month. If you have a job and decent credit, you can own your own home. If you can come up with a down payment, you can own a home a lot cheaper than you can rent, and your payment will never go up. Also, you could deduct most of your house payment from your income taxes. If you'd like to lock in your monthly house payment at $300 to $500 per month for the next 30 years, call Mike Briggs Properties, 486-6758. Mike Briggs Properties, 486-6758.
CentralValleyTalk.com